Right now, I want to welcome to the show Mr. Kurt Mueller from Students for Concealed Carry on Campus. Kurt, how you doing, sir?
Good evening. I'm doing well.
Well, glad you could join us on the program tonight. We were talking a little bit last night about a story in the Washington Times. Colleges find ways to foil pro-gun rulings and thought this would make for an interesting discussion with the folks at Students for Concealed Carry on Campus, given what we've seen in Colorado and in Oregon over the past couple of months. The Washington Times says courts are ruling in favor of allowing those with concealed carry permits to bring their handguns onto campus, but universities are figuring out ways to keep the guns out. So what exactly is going on here, Kurt?
Well, they're certainly trying. The legislatures are the ones that pass laws, not universities. That's what I learned in grade school and college, but the universities don't seem to understand this because they keep trying to pass rules that affect the general public and prohibit them from carrying on campus. And the Oregon Court of Appeals ruled that they can't do that. The Colorado Supreme Court has ruled that they can't do that. And, this is a trend that is continuing where, we find that, it's legislatures that pass laws. Oregon, this past week, rebuffed an attempt. They voted 15-14 not to ban guns on college campus by state law. So, since the state won't do it for them, campuses seem to want to try to find a way to do it themselves.
Well, yeah, and again, we've seen over the over the last 5 years or so that campus carry has become an issue across the country. That in a lot of respects, I think this issue boils down to power. I mean, the arguments that a lot of these university officials make in terms of public safety or in terms of student responsibility, or they don't really hold a lot of water. To me, what it comes down to is the fact that these university officials really are anti-gun, and they want to try to rule their campuses like little fiefdoms. And they don't like legislators or anybody else telling them that constitutional rights, all of them, apply on a college campus just as they do anywhere else in the society.
Yeah, I think you're right about power because, you were talking to Foundation for Individual Rights for Education last hour or last segment, and they'll tell you that there are a lot of campuses out there that are trying to oppress people on their First Amendment rights as well. A couple of years ago, we had to go to the federal court in Texas just for the right to have our annual empty holster protest and pass out flyers. So I think it is an issue of control. And then there's also an issue of, they want their own, they want their perfect university that's segmented off. But the problem, of course, when it comes to firearms and speech for that matter as well, is that, they aren't walled gardens. You can walk on the campus, anyone can. And the bad guys can, the good guys can, and the university can't stop a bad guy with ill intent. So they seem, desperate to make sure that, the only people that are disarmed are students. That's why part of the reason I find this thing in Oregon so offensive. The Court of Appeals ruled that they can't affect the general public, so they pass a new rule that says that, if you're student, faculty, or staff, well, you can't carry on campus. So, they acknowledge that, they can't affect the general public. So people can come onto campus, drive through campus, as getting from one end of town to another, as they should. Same thing in Virginia. A member of the general public who has a valid concealed carry permit can drive through campus, walk on campus. But, they want to ban the only people they can, their own students, faculty, and staff. And you're left in this bizarro world where, the very people that they're there to protect, the very people that work there, the very people that, are in that environment are the only ones who are disarmed, and everyone else isn't, including the bad guys. I mean, that's just doesn't make any logical sense to me.
Well, it doesn't make much logical sense. I mean, it doesn't make any logical sense to me either, particularly when you look at, frankly, the real-world examples of what has happened when campus carry takes place. There have not been any problems. As a matter of fact, you look at Colorado State University, for example, which instituted actually abided by Colorado's Concealed Carry Act beginning in 2004, and saw crimes on campus drop from 800 per year down to 200 per year while campus carry was in effect. I mean, that's a really good example of what happens when people can exercise that right. Crime doesn't go up because we're not talking about criminals. We're talking about law-abiding individuals.
Exactly. I found it a little funny. University of Colorado's chief of police wrote a memo to the faculty and to the general public, for that matter, in regards to the Colorado Supreme Court case, which ruled that the state preemption, affected colleges too. And in this letter, they said, we realize most people who carry concealed are going to be responsible adults. And I was thinking to myself, well, why didn't you say that, 7 years ago when, this issue came up, or 3 years ago when we filed suit? The whole time it's like, no, it's too dangerous. But now they're finally admitting, in writing that, the world is in fact not going to come to an end. We could have told them that from, their neighbor, Colorado State University, or, all the public schools in Utah that allow campus carry, or, all the other instances. We're not really aware of any concealed carry holder who's, had any of these going berserk scenarios that they talk about. And, it's important to remember when you're talking about campus carry that what, our organizations really cares about is one-on-one violence. It's not really the mass shootings we're so much worried about. It's, what happens when you're leaving the library at 10 o'clock at night and have to walk 20 minutes across campus in the dark to get to your car. And if the campus is banning firearms from anywhere on campus, so you can't even have it in your car, well, not only are you vulnerable all the way to your car, but all the way on your drive home. That's just not fair to anyone, students, faculty, staff, general public alike.
Well, exactly. Now, I know, Kurt, that, there are a number of states that are considering campus carry issues legislatively. Clearly, in the Oregon case and in the Colorado case, ultimately what the courts never really had to reach a Second Amendment conclusion because these universities were not complying with state law. It was a simple fact of not complying with state law. But in terms of actual legislation, do you see the issue advancing this year?
Well, absolutely. I mean, last year we had 15 states or so that had variants of campus carry on their proposals, and some of those got through in various forms. Where, for example, they'd say that, it's no longer illegal, or, you can have it in your car when you're parked on campus, little things like that. But, every little bit that you go forward on this issue is, one more proof that, it's going to be okay. So, once again, this year we've had proposals in, several states, and some of them have gone through and some of them not. And we're, just keeping our eye on the ball. And we're absolutely keeping our options open when it comes to court cases as well, especially with our victory in Colorado. There's a lot of states out there that have a good, strong preemption statute that says effectively only the legislature can pass gun laws, which is, once again, the way it should be. If anyone is going to be passing gun laws, it should be the legislature passing gun laws. Mm-hmm. That's what they're there for. When the states have that kind of strong law, and campuses are like, no, we want to too. Now that we have this precedent in Colorado, we're going to start looking at all the other states that are similarly situated, and we're going to start considering legal action in those states as well.
And Kurt, we've also got next month the empty holster protest coming up, college campuses around the country. What can you tell us about that?
Well, absolutely. As you say, every April we have a silent protest where we encourage people to wear an empty holster on their belts. Don't put anything in it. It's meant to just be to show that you've been forcibly disarmed, and to hand out literature. And we've done this successfully every year for the last several years. And we'll be announcing a date in April very soon for that. And we encourage people to go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/concealedcampus, where they can find out more about this event and ask us any questions and figure out how to get involved.
All right. Well, listen, Kurt, really appreciate your time this evening, sir. Enjoy your weekend. I know we'll be discussing more issues with you here before long.
All right. It's always a pleasure to be on.